I wanted to make you aware of a couple things. We've had a couple of buffs to ARs. They went under the radar, small notes in passing in this week at Bungie. A couple buffs were 2 sub-archetypes that I'll go over, and one was an overall buff, a blanket buff. Now that one is being widely overlooked. Some of these ARs are just flat out crazy now. Trust me, that blanket buff sets up ARs in a very particular way, a wild way. And I want to talk about how to run one. It's a rich gets richer type of scenario. The current landscape of the PvP meta, it's all over the place. We're seeing a lot of sidearms, pulses, hand cannons are always there. Feels like there's been a little bit fewer recently, but auto rifles, the wild cards. Historically, not great, but not terrible, rides that midline, and ones that have rises in usage usually have something special. And what I want to show you is that right now, some auto rifles do get above that midline. And as I talk about it, you have to try it. You have to try some of these and set them up correctly. They are different now. I mean, Iron Banners this week, try one. Maybe you're watching this video later on. Keep it in mind because the buff does change the landscape of ARs moving forward as far as roles now and into the future. So let's talk about those 3 buffs. The first buff was to high impact auto rifles. They said that the subfamily of the high impacts, good damage output, low ease of use. So they increased the stability stat of all non-sunset high impacts by 6 to 12, depending on the weapon. And with something that low of a stability, when you start adding 5, 10 points, it's exactly what they said. There are noticeable changes to the feel. So age-old bond, maybe you crafted to come to pass. They got a stability stat bump. The one that you're seeing in the gameplay is dynamic sway, kill clip, 50 stability, and 50 stability on this thing is great. Second sub-archetype, precisions. They increase the crit damage from 1.5 to 1.55, which raises the critical damage from 30 to 31. And before that, they got a body shot buff. So good for them. But what's helping them the most is the next one, a blanket buff. And I want to explain it to you, what's really going on. When you read it, it doesn't sound special, sounds kind of weird, kind of hard to grasp, like the gravity of the situation. Auto rifles, general. So all of them. Increase the effects of the stability stat on recoil direction by around 20% at the high end. The high end means 100 stability. And stability in game, let's remember, how much or little recoil you'll experience while firing your weapon. So for all auto rifles, it means not just the visual recoil, the actual recoil you see is less. Physically not jumping as high, visually not jumping as high. At 100 stability, the auto rifle shooting experience is overall 20% more stable. And 100 stability is already peak. It's taking it past that. And the big compliment to this buff that goes over the edge is how auto rifles have the best anti-flinch scaler in the game. So at 100 stability, auto rifles receive 25% less flinch. You add in the other factors, 10 resilience, 10% flinch reduction, double unflinching, 0.7 multiplier. So at 100 stability, with everything going on, the AR is 20% more stable, kicks 20% less, overall recoil improved by 20%, and receives 53% less flinch. In a duel, the critical part of all this coming together versus a hand cannon and a pulse does not matter. The AR is not jumping as high, and you're gonna see some of them don't jump at all. Since it's so stable, the accuracy is settling faster. There's less bloom. It's not moving as high combined with combating flinch. It's dueling better than they ever have. Like right here versus an explosive payload scout, it is not missing a beat. Again, the AR is dueling better than it's ever dueled in the past. There's some huge outliers with this, but once I get through those, there's some others that I want to talk about. There's some perks to talk about. And remember, all of them got a buff. Yes, we have that rich get richer scenario. If it has 100 stability, it's getting the full 20%. But if you have 50 stability, it's halved. So increase the effects of the stability stat on recoil direction by 10% at 50 stability. So let's get into some of them. First up, it's one that everyone can try. Take it for a spin. It's Hardlight. Hardlight has 100 stability with the catalyst, so full force, it's getting the 20% help, getting the full flinch reduction. So for all gameplay, I recommend that you do put on tier 10 resilience, double auto and flinching. Double targeting if you want. Auto rifle mods are really cheap. Like that is a true difference maker with a lot of this because they're not jumping as high, they're staying on target better. And when they get flinched, their high point of recoil doesn't get them knocked off as much. So if you can build into 50 plus reduction on that flinch, but you start taking into account accuracy and magnetism, they win a lot more. And Hardlight, like it doesn't move. Like as you're watching, I'm sure you can see it. Like this isn't the Hardlight that you remember, like at all. It's sticky, super stable. They took the shake away a long time ago. Now it's overall 20% more stable. It's crazy. And it helps them hit their TTK. Hardlight's a 600, so 0.8 TTK, 8 crits, 1 body. Very achievable, like 100% achievable. Taking less flinch, not moving as much with the return fire. The actual recoil is less. It's fun. But let's look into some more. Summoner. Just look at this. I'm gonna play this on a little loop. Simply incredible. This role has 85 stability with elemental capacitor on void. Paired with it is perpetual motion. So at ×2, it's 100 stability. An absolute unit. Now Summoner Scope, it's giving some stability because it's a little zoomy, and it's always been a stable monster. This is that extra step. Pinpoint. Does not move. As I was playing with it, it didn't matter what they had. Tier 10 resilience, double unflinching. Once I got on them, it didn't even matter. It was absolutely dumpstering in duels, shredding. And when you look at it, maybe you have one in your vault. Summoner can roll Rangefinder, Golden Tricorn, MKC. There's a ton of perk combinations. So this is a 100 stability example with Perpetual Motion ×2, but I'm telling you, I'm going to show you a couple here in a moment. Some auto rifles in that 50-60 range on the stability stat are just as good. And keep in mind, in all gameplay, I'm on the Series X on controller. So for M and K, all of this is going to be even more stable. But from a controller point of view, all weapons talked about are noticeably different. Next outlier, Quicksilver Storm. It makes sense. This is the pre-order exotic. A lot of you won't have it. It's 100 stability, and it shows. Another pinpoint dueling experience. This thing, it has great PvE damage with the grenade launcher, not so much in the Crucible. But for the Crucible, it has that 100 threshold stability. It shoots the missile. You can achieve a more relaxed or faster TTK depending on where you are within the magazine. And out of all the ones that I'm talking about today, it's in the top 3 that I've used. Quicksilver. And I start off with Hardlight because it's one that everyone can just try. And as far as Quicksilver, as I said in the review, it's a shame it's a pre-order, but this is another one that hits that 100 stability threshold, utilizing that blanket buff. Now the next one, straight up, might be my number 1, and I used a ton of auto rifles for this video, a ton. It's Crate. This is an example of an AR that has decently mid to mid-high stability. The roll is extended barrel flared magwell, overflow, adagio. The stability on it is 63. Just look at the gameplay. I was not doing this with Crate before at all. This Crate is a monster. Same deal. It's like every one that I got on went down, even at extreme ranges well past its drop-off point, beaming with the controller. Once I get Adagio going, it's shooting a little bit slower, so it makes it even more easier to control. Looking at the gameplay, I hope that you can see the difference. Little shake, little recoil, beaming. And one more time, I do want to encourage you to do the full setup with your AR. Tier 10 resilience, double auto and flinching. Both together is what makes them dual. More stable, best anti-flinch in the game, double auto rifle mods are cheap. Get as close as you can to tier 10 resilience. That's the difference maker. To take massively less flinch with an AR that isn't moving too much because of its recoil buff. Some other ones, Suros and both spinning up and dual speed felt great. I was landing really deep shots with spinning up, and I've never been able to do that. Even in fall off with accuracy issues, I was able to hold on my target from a distance and beam them down while receiving fire. And it's worth noting, perks like heating up, perks like dynamic sway, anything that adds to the stability stat is inching towards that 20% overall to 100. Like this is a heating up kill clip Chroma Rush. On the stat bar, it has 66 stability at ×2 heating up, 96 stability. Another one that is just incredible. Once it gets on someone, it is mowing them. So, I wanted you to be aware. I think that the gameplay spoke for itself. Those don't look like the ARs that we've been used to. So try what I talked about today. Go all in with unflinching. Look in your vault, search term auto rifle and dim or whatever vault app that you have. Check out your rolls. Look for high base stability. Add on to it, if not in that 50-60 stability range, because even those are doing really, really good. Even those feel completely different with the flinch received and how you're able to stay on target. Look for perks like heating up, firmly planted, dynamic sway. Try things like Monte Carlo, have fun with it. There's even a nice precision auto that can be crafted with high stability, the Amit. Things have changed. They are literally hitting different. It's bold to say, but they're kind of slept on. If you're new here, remember to hit the subscribe button, and if you are subscribed, thank you so much for your support. Let's talk about this down below. What are some of your favorite ARs? Thank you for watching, and until the next one, I am CoolGuy.